Hi, my name is Vinny from Bellwether team. In our today's video, I'm going to show you the process through which you can create vendors in ePMX. As most of you must be aware about the vendor screen through which you can create vendors one at a time. You can enter the relevant details for the vendor and keep creating one by one, which can be a little tedious sometimes, especially when you have a huge list of the vendors to be created in ePMX. Hence, we have an option through which you can create all of your vendors in one simple process, that is the import process. For that, you go to Utilities, Import, to maintain vendors. When you come over here, you see three options. The first, input character set, which is defaultly set to Windows 1252 and need not to make any changes with it. You can keep it as is. All you got to do is to pick the file from your desktop and hit import. But before we go on that part, let's take a look on the template. If you don't really have the template, the format of the template, you can click on template and extract it from the system. I have one available with me that I've prepared for this video, which looks like this. When you click on template on the vendor import screen, you would be given a blank sheet with the headers only. When you have a list of vendor, what you want to do with it? You want to create them. So you would use a transaction code as A, which stands for add. Corporation. Now that's one important point. The corporation has to be the exact same corporation which is your site name. Vendor code, I have currently defined the vendor code. These are ePMX vendor codes which I have given in a sequential order just to maintain it in a formation. In column D, E, H, I, J, I have entered the vendor related information: vendor name, the address, state, country, zip code, etc. Over here, having the vendor name is mandatory along with the vendor number, which is the internally defined number in ePMX. As far as the address, city, state, country is concerned, it's not really mandatory, but good to have. Then we come to the contact name. Who is your point of contact at vendor? Column M talks about the phone number if you want to have that information added in ePMX. Again, it's optional, but good to have. Then all of the columns you see as blank, these are all optional, so we can leave them aside. If you want to update some, you can. However, contact type is the next important column, though it's not mandatory, but it is recommended, which I personally do to all of my clients. The contact type defines how you would want the ePMX to communicate with your vendor. If you want ePMX to electronically communicate and send the purchase order electronically over the email, you put E as a contact type. For some vendors who uses fax option as a PO transmission method, you can use F for them. In case you don't select anything and you keep it blank, so system will automatically set all the vendor profiles contact type as print only. So you can create purchase order selecting those vendors in ePMX, and you can just take a print out of the system and do the manual processing out of the system. However, in my recommendation, when we're using an electronic system, we should also have the electronic method, and that can be tied up by putting the email IDs. Remember, if you're putting the contact type as E, the column AA, which is email, becomes mandatory. Likewise, if you put F, which is for fax, then the column Z for fax becomes mandatory. Otherwise, if you put E and F and don't put the relevant details in the sequential columns, the file will get errored out and the import won't be successful. Moving on, the last column, which is very crucial and important only if you are using the invoicing module in ePMX. In the account number column AK, you would be specifying the vendor account number that belongs to your accounting system. This will help ePMX to do the bridging against the vendor account or vendor number that is from your accounting system. The rest of the fields you may notice about some punch out. So if you have punch out vendors, for that it is required where you define the URL, the push out URL, login ID and password for the punch out, etc. Once I'm done and ready with this file, I need to make sure as a last checkpoint to save this as .csv format. So I always make sure the save as type should be set to CSV, delimited only. And my file is saved. So supposedly my file is now ready. I am on the import to maintain vendor screen. The input character set is defaultly set to Windows 1252. I can pick the file from my desktop now. Here's my file, and I can now click on import. When I do so, now system would tell me how many records got an error and how many got successfully processed. So as it was a fresh upload, so all of my vendors are added into the ePMX, and I can click on continue, exit out of the screen, go on the purchasing screen, and find my vendors right over here. I can make a selection of them and pursue with my further processing of PO creation or the requisition creation. So that was the simple process of importing the vendors, and it is helpful when you have a big list of vendors that you want to set up in ePMX. This was it in today's video. Stay tuned. We will come back with more import processes for you. Thank you.